The secret affair. Jake was an ordinary guy in his early 30s, married to his high school sweetheart, Emily. They had been together for 8 years, their relationship steady, though perhaps a bit routine. Jake worked long hours in the tech industry, while Emily was an artist who worked from home. Life had settled into a predictable rhythm for the two of them, but lately things had started to feel off. Jake first noticed the changes in small ways. Emily was dressing differently, paying more attention to her appearance. She had started going out in the evenings more often, claiming she had meetings with art buyers or clients for her projects. She would smile and tell him not to wait up, that she might be late, and although Jake didn't want to admit it, a knot of unease had begun to form in his stomach. They used to be so close, but now there was a distance between them. One night, after Emily had left for another late meeting, Jake saw her phone light up with a message. It was from an unknown number, and the message was short and flirty. "Can't wait to see you again, winky face." Jake stared at the screen, his heart sinking. He wanted to believe that there was a logical explanation. Maybe it was from a friend or a client being overly friendly, but the words gnawed at him. Still, he put the phone down and tried to shake off the feeling. Over the next few days, Jake's suspicions grew. Emily seemed distracted, her mind elsewhere, and their conversations became shallow and strained. He confided in his best friend, Mark, over beers one weekend, telling him about the text and Emily's new behavior. At first, Mark brushed it off, telling Jake he was probably reading too much into things. But as Jake laid out more details, her late nights, the secret of phone calls, Mark's expression turned serious. "Look, man," Mark said, "maybe it's nothing, but if you're really worried, you need to talk to her. Just ask her about it. If she's hiding something, it'll come out." Jake decided Mark was right. That evening, when Emily returned from yet another mysterious outing, he sat her down. He was careful with his words, telling her he had noticed the changes and that he was concerned. To his surprise, Emily became defensive almost immediately. "Are you accusing me of something?" she snapped, her eyes flashing with anger. "I've been working hard, Jake. I'm trying to build my career, and now you're telling me you don't trust me?" Jake was taken aback. He had expected her to deny everything to reassure him, but instead, she turned the conversation on him, accusing him of being paranoid. He didn't know what to say. The argument ended with Emily storming upstairs, leaving Jake sitting in the living room, more confused than ever. Despite their argument, Jake couldn't shake his suspicions. If anything, Emily's reaction made him more certain that something was going on. A few nights later, he followed her. He didn't want to be that guy, but the doubt was eating him alive. He trailed her car as she drove across town, eventually pulling into the driveway of a small, unfamiliar house in a quiet neighborhood. Jake parked a few blocks away and watched from a distance. A man opened the door and Emily walked inside. Jake's heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing. He sat there, frozen, unsure of what to do. That night, Jake didn't confront Emily. Instead, he went home, tossing and turning in bed, imagining the worst. Was she cheating on him? Who was the man? Why had she been so secretive? The questions swirled in his mind, and for the first time he felt like his marriage might be falling apart. The next day something strange happened. Jake received an anonymous text message. "You don't know the whole story." Attached to the message was a photo of Emily and the man from the house. They were hugging, but there was nothing romantic about the picture. Jake stared at it, his mind reeling. Who had sent the message? And what did they mean by the whole story? Unable to stand the tension any longer, Jake confronted Emily that evening. He showed her the photo and demanded to know what was going on. At first, Emily stared at the picture in shock. Then, to his surprise, she began to cry. Through her tears, she finally revealed the truth. The man in the photo was not a lover. He was her brother, David. Jake was floored. Emily had never mentioned having a brother. Slowly, Emily explained that David had been estranged from the family for years, after getting into trouble with the law. He had spent time in prison for a crime he didn't commit, and only recently had he been released. Emily had been helping him adjust to life on the outside, but she hadn't told Jake because she was ashamed of her family's complicated history. She had feared how Jake would react, worried that he might judge her or think less of her. The secrecy wasn't out of betrayal, it was out of guilt and shame. Jake sat in silence, absorbing everything. He had spent weeks doubting Emily, imagining the worst, only to find out that the truth was something entirely different. Guilt washed over him. He had followed her, suspected her of cheating, all because he hadn't trusted her enough to simply ask. "I'm sorry," Jake finally said. "I didn't know." Emily looked at him, her eyes red and tired. "I didn't want you to know," she said softly. "I didn't think you'd understand." Over the next few days things were tense between them. They both felt hurt, Emily by Jake's lack of trust and Jake by the secret she had kept. But they knew they had to talk about it to work through the pain. They began going to counseling where they learned how to communicate better, to be more open with each other. Jake apologized for jumping to conclusions, and Emily opened up about her family's struggles, sharing parts of her life she had kept hidden for so long. Slowly they started to rebuild the trust that had been broken. The experience forced them to confront the cracks that had already been forming in their relationship. Jake realized that his long hours at work and his emotional distance had contributed to the rift between them. Emily, too, saw how her silence had created space for doubt to grow. In the end, they came out of the ordeal stronger, their bond deeper than before. They learned that trust isn't just about avoiding betrayal, it's about being vulnerable, honest and open even when it's hard. Jake realized how easily mistrust can spiral out of control when communication breaks down, and Emily saw the importance of sharing the whole truth, even when it feels uncomfortable. Their story was a reminder that relationships are built on trust and that no matter how difficult things get, honest communication can heal even the deepest wounds. Moral of the story: mistrust can cloud judgment and lead to assumptions that aren't based in reality. Open communication, honesty, and patience are key to any strong relationship, especially when things seem uncertain.